Afternoon. What is up, sports fans? We are back for another episode of The Real and the Rare. I'm your host, as always, Steve Rychel, and being joined with me this afternoon, this football Sunday, the Buffalo Soldier himself, Mr. Elijah Harris. Elijah, appreciate your time this afternoon, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
It's definitely our pleasure, my friend. You know, always trying to catch up with any of our combat sports fighters here on the South Florida Tribune. Give you guys a little platform, talk about yourself, let the people learn a little bit about you as we can. So appreciate the time, especially it's in the tri-state area. It's today's Eagles football day, so. I know BKFC's down there doing a little tailgating themselves, getting ready for Knucklemania. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm pretty sure at this point in time you're getting ready to do your last little dot your I's, cross your T's before you get ready to travel, right?
yeah, pretty much. Right now I'm just in the water loading process, getting ready to make my cut. But yeah, all the work's done.
It's always the biggest fight that no one ever talks about that you guys have to do is making weight. It's the first thing on the contract, right? Is
Yeah,
contracted weight. Talk about a lot of with a lot of the fighters. Some people do it the right way, some people do it the wrong way. Some people hire nutritionists. You come from that wrestling background, so it's something that you've probably been used to for a good portion of your amateur and professional career, right?
yeah, it's definitely something that I'm very familiar with, but for a very long time I did it the wrong way. Um, Cutting weight like a wrestler isn't always the right way to do it. You're often competing very depleted. You just get comfortable doing so. But throughout my MMA career, I've definitely learned what works for me, and I have my weight cut pretty dialed in.
That's all that's important. You're doing it safe. You're not depleted, dehydrated, things of that nature when you're getting ready to go in there and perform at a high level, man. So, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's one of the most underestimated thing. I think like when you're talking to young athletes as far as where they are with that. I remember it was when World Series of Fighting was around. I was talking to Steve Carl before one of his title fights, and he's like, "Oh, I cut like 30 pounds like the night before." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, I used to do that stupid stuff.
He's like, he was like, "Yeah, I'll just put on a little sweatsuit thing, jump on the treadmill, and the weight just comes off easy." I'm like,
Yeah.
man.
As you get older, it doesn't come off as easy.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things from talking to a lot of the fighters about this over the years. It's like some of the fighters I've been friends and outside of the media side of things, and they just like said like, listen, like as you get older, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do
Right.
and keep up with. So that's why it's one of the things I talk about. Like so you found your niche into it. Like I said, like some people get nutritionists in because they can't be disciplined with this or that. They need somebody to kind of be on top of them, make sure that they're doing X, Y, and Z the right way, as we were just
Right.
talking about, right? So it's very important to do it the right way, because I think a lot of times when some of the combat sports athletes tend to get stopped, a lot of times it's more because they're so depleted
Yeah.
with draining themselves to make the scale, you
Yeah.
know that they wind up putting themselves in harm's way more often than not, just because they're doing it the caveman way, so to speak.
Yeah. Recovery is huge. It's very, very important.
That's one of the things I talked about, like that to allow you fighters to kind of perform, like, maybe do the weigh in like a week before or something like that, to give you the proper time to you know recoup the way you should, so you can all perform at a higher level. It's less chances of guys. We've seen it before. Plenty of times. Some of these bigger UFC they're passing out. As they're trying to get on the scale, they look like some of these fighters, they're so drawn in and drained. They look like that, like did Skeletor just hop on the scale? Like, what happened here? Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's one thing, like if I was involved in these athletic commissions, it's something I would try to implement just to make everything a little bit easier for the fighters. Find a way that we all kind of agree something works. Like, I think killing killing yourselves, both male or female, 2-3 days before the fight to make weight is we're talking about, we're doing things in modern ways and modern styles, and why are we still doing weight the day before weigh-ins? I don't get it. I really don't. Like I get that you want them to both kind of be as close to that weight as possible, but I also think if we're really about athlete safety, then this is one of the things we should kind of look into as well.
Yeah. Well, so I have a different idea about how that could be approached. And that would be, well, everyone just fight their natural weight, right? And how you would determine that is someone from the commission or whatever can pop in at any time, check your weight. And if you're any more than 10 or 15% above whatever your fight weight is, then they automatically just bump you to the next weight class. You know what I mean? So then you would take away weight cutting for everybody. But as long as there's an option for cutting to happen, like big cuts, people are going to do that to try to get the size advantage.
Yep. Combat sports is a dirty world in many different ways, both commission wise, promoter wise.
Yeah, cutting weight is legal cheating, basically.
Legal cheating. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
and
Right.
I'm pretty good at it.
Hey, listen, you know what the rules are, man. So it's like, hey,
Right.
like this is the way it's done, and this is the way
Yeah.
I'm gonna go about it. So, um, looking through some of your stuff, going through your socials today, I've realized something. We probably crossed paths before, because I've interviewed one of your opponents a few times. He just came back on the scene, Mr. Timmy Tyler,
Hmm.
and you guys go way back. Your amateur days, man.
Yeah.
Fought an amateur. You guys had your pro debuts against each other.
Hmm.
He just he just came back. Unfortunately, he got himself in a little trouble. Spent the last 21 months in jail. He's saying he's getting back to doing MMA. I think he should probably try his hand at bare knuckle, man. I think he's one of those type dudes that I think he would probably do pretty well at it. What do you say to something like that? Him being 21 months off, getting into MMA, or tell him to go give Feldman a call and get on this BKFC events.
I mean that's completely up to him, you know. I definitely think that he could do well in that atmosphere. 'Cause he's a dog. We beat the hell out of each other, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's got to be something you want to do though
Yeah.
too. You know what I mean? It's different. Um, it feels a lot more primal than getting ready for some MMA fight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I agree. I think it's nothing against UFC or MMA right now or anything, or even boxing for that matter. I think bare knuckle, regardless if we're talking BKFC, BYB, if you're talking Ken Shamrock's promotion, whatever. I think it's the biggest and best combat sports in the world because it's the most purest form of it all.
I
Um,
agree. I think it's going to really blow up. I mean, it is, but I think
I
it's
mean,
going to
yeah, if you
continue
really
to.
think about it, what it's done just over the last 5 years, not even when Dave started, just over the last 5 years, I think for all lack intents of purposes, it's been kicking the UFC in the nuts, so to speak, with
Yeah,
popularity, everything. I think, everything that Dave's done, he's for the most part, I think, it's on par to kind of really project them into that next level. And I think that he has done that,
yeah, I agree.
and then, obviously getting it sanctioned here, having basically turning Philly to home of Knucklemania, I think was another smart move for him because, this has always been a fight town.
Yeah,
We have the craziest fans in the world here in Philadelphia, but it was always a boxing town too. So I think it was a smart move. Obviously, you're fighting on the 17th, but the 7th of next month is the next Knucklemania event. Are you going to happen to hop down for that? Are you excited for that event? Like, how do you feel about the next Knucklemania card? It looks stacked, brother.
Yeah, it's stacked. It's definitely an exciting card. Uh, we'll see what happens after January 17th. Lord willing, I'm healthy.
So even if everything works out, maybe someone falls off the card, you would want to be like, hey Dave, I'm hopping in here. I want to.
Yeah, 100%. As long
Now
as I'm healthy, Lord willing, yeah.
Now, let's just say it's not a perfect world. It doesn't go the way you want. So the next time they bring Knucklemania back, are you telling Shook and Feldman now that, like, listen, my name's on the top of that list. I'm fighting at the Xfinity Live Center next time you guys do Knucklemania.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to for sure. But for me, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where I'm fighting or who. I just love to do it. And, you know, they line them up and I just try to knock them out.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was it your first 2 fights? I don't even think totaled 2 minutes of ring time.
The first 2 was 14 seconds.
That's what I'm talking about. What was it? It was first one was 7, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, can't ask for a better start to that. New sport, new kid on the block, and obviously the last time out, you get a tough guy in Lentz. Knocks the winning streak off. Are you looking to go on a run after this? See where you can start climbing up the rankings in 2026?
Yeah, 100%. Without a doubt, as long as they can keep me active and people don't continue to run, I will be the featherweight champion by the end of 2026.
Love the confidence, brother. Love it, love it. Obviously you got to take care of business first, as you're getting ready to head up to the Mohegan Sun that there in Connecticut. Mr. Roberto unfortunately drew the card against you. Anyone who's just tuning in for the first time, what should you expect for this fight? Don't go to the bathroom if when they walking you out.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you get all that stuff out of the way beforehand. Um, and you can expect fast-paced violence. That's what I bring every single time I step in there.
I mean, that's what the fans want, my friend. That's what the fans want. That's that's why I think BKFC is one of these bigger sports, because a lot of you guys, you don't want to waste any time. You want to get in there, get your paycheck, and get ready for the next one as soon as like, as you were just sitting there saying, if I get done this dude without any injuries on the 17th, I want to see if I can finally squeeze my way in the fight on February 7th.
Yeah.
But and it's guys like you are promoters' dreams, because they always want guys that are hungry, looking to prove themselves, looking to compete as often as possible. So it's one of those things that guys like you are few and far between. Because I was just seeing something. One of the reason why we just had a couple fight announcements is because some guy, they were promoting the fight and didn't even sign the fight contract. So they wound up yanking the fight. We wound up getting, Richmond and Elmore thrown on there. So, I think it's nothing against the 2 gentlemen that were going to fight, but, for all acts intents of purpose, I think that, watching, the former champion Richmond and Joe Elmore go at it after they were just damn near scrapping in the stands a few weeks ago, might be just a tad more drama, tad more exciting.
Yeah, that'll be an exciting one.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's, they did it again. They've stacked it, both with Philadelphia talent and fights that kind of piqued the interest. You got Rothwell and Orlovsky. They fought in an MMA. They're about to fight for the world title.
Mm-hmm.
Yoel Romero and Lorenzo Hunt should be a barn burner. I mean, you got 2 animal men's going to be getting in there. So
yeah, someone's getting knocked out.
Yeah, someone's definitely getting knocked out. I mean, 9 times out of 10, when Lorenzo Hunt goes in there, it's either he goes out on the shield or he's putting somebody out viciously. And Yoel Romero is a freak of a man. So
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
unfortunately, he didn't make weight for the wrestling event. What was it? Yesterday or the day before. So didn't get the Bo Nickel fight. But I mean, wouldn't that be like the third time he's had to make weight in like the last like two months or so? We
Yeah,
were
he's
just
he's been
talking
pretty
about that,
busy.
how rough
Yeah,
that is,
yeah,
especially when you get up there in age, man. Having to make weight that many times in a matter of like 2 months is rough.
yeah, for sure.
So that's one of those fights, and obviously, some of us Philly guys were looking forward to seeing Ludlow and in the Muscle Shark there, Zach Helmus go at it. You got Garbarino and Zach Thomason's are going at it. That should be an interesting
Yeah.
after Thomason stopped Patty Sullivan the last Knuckle Mania. So a lot of interesting matchups on this card. So I know obviously we're 2-3 weeks away from that event, but that card's stacked, man. It's
Yeah, it is definitely stacked.
Now, looking at some other things, you have an interesting story too, because not only have you have the combat sports background and the wrestling background, but you've also been a part of our armed forces,
Yes,
and
sir.
and what kind of prides you more, like the stuff that you've done in the ring, in the cage, or whatever, or being a part of part of this country's military for a period of time.
Um, I don't know. I mean, so I never did anything necessarily. I never went anywhere. I never deployed. I was in the
Yeah,
reserves.
yeah,
Um, but I always felt like a need to kind of serve, fight for our freedoms and stuff. So I joined the reserves, and at the time I was wrestling in college, so it just made sense to go reserves instead of active because I thought I was going to become an officer. But then I ended up dropping out of college, started fighting instead. Um, I definitely love fighting. That's my passion. Um, and I want to have my own gym whenever I start to settle down in my own fight career and, give back. Mixed martial arts has definitely helped my life, in a lot of ways. So I want to be able to give that to other people. But as far as the military goes, I definitely met, a lot of great people in the Marine Corps and have some lifelong brothers out of it. But um, I think I take more pride in what I'm still currently trying to build with my mixed martial arts career.
and there ain't nothing wrong with that. We've seen a lot of guys. Maybe they've never actually served, but they've been a part of branches of military that tend to that gravitate towards combat sports, because it's just like kind of, I guess, that natural progression, right? It's a cool thing. And then hearing how when you get to that point that you also want to give back and share the knowledge that you have in opening your own gym. Do you have any idea where you would want to put it?
Uh,
Because there's
Not
so many
sure.
places in the area where you can go to Philadelphia. There's
Yeah,
places in Jersey, places in like the tri-state area is a hotbed, so to speak, to where you
yeah,
want to
for
do it.
sure. Yeah, I've had some ideas, but nothing set in stone yet.
So maybe at some point in time in the next few years, we're gonna have Harris's gym, so to speak.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be are you gonna try to cater to all the combat sports, bare knuckle, boxing, wrestling,
Yeah,
MMA,
we'll
the whole nine?
yeah, we'll teach everything. Um, and yeah, I'll add in the bare knuckle aspect because, at that point I'll have plenty of experience. And with that growing as rapidly as it is, it makes sense to have that as part of your curriculum.
Yeah. You gonna look to have any partners when it comes to this? Anything like that, or is it something you want to try to succeed on your own, so to speak?
Well, yeah, I do want to try to do it on my own. I want my own thing. However, my head coach, Josh Hummer, also a great mentor to me over the years, we've talked about me opening like a satellite branch under his affiliation, which is Tactical Combat Academy. Um, and so the thing with that is like I completely love and respect that he, you know, trusts me and my abilities enough to carry on what he started and, teach it on my own. But at the same time, I want something that's me, like 100% authentically me. But at the end of the day, it'll still probably be an affiliate of Tactical Combat Academy because that's where I learned all my stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go off, start my own thing and teach what I learned somewhere else and call it my own thing. You got to pay homage to, your teacher.
Those who poured into you, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm. It's kind of the expected. Like a lot of times, like we see it all the time. Like with the Gracie tree, right? Henzo, Daniel. A lot of the guys that come from that line. You always seen the homage being paid forward from the guys that taught them. So.
Yeah, you have to. At the end of the day, all martial arts was founded on respect.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's probably I guess everyone gets stuck into the MMA side of it, but like when we think about how this whole thing started, it was about uh, honoring and respecting it all, but also having a place where you can learn multiple different disciplines all in
Mm,
the same place. So
right,
you know, we gotta be thankful for Bruce Lee being the crazy man with the crazy thoughts that he had, right?
right.
I mean, and ultimately, like a lot of people felt like it led to his passing, but if we had to watch we had to watch Bruce fly before all these different branches and all these great fighters kind of come to fruition. So
Right.
it's it was an interesting time, and I'm glad that he did that just because it gives us something more to root for, something more to be excited for, and just like a lot of times you've seen some of these inner cities like boxing help save some of these people that are going down dark paths, and the same thing
Mm,
can be said about all different branches of combat sports. Jiu-jitsu
yeah,
saves a lot of people, wrestling saves a lot of people, so it gives some of these people an outlet
yeah,
where
absolutely.
some people are just they got anger, hate, rage in them. They need somewhere to kind of direct that and go into it. And obviously having a coach that cares enough about them to kind of pour into them, like, hey, like you know
Mm,
it's there's so many different aspects to what goes on in the combat sports where like we were just talking, I was just saying, like, there's dirty parts of it, but there's also the amazing parts of it as well.
right, absolutely.
And you fought in everywhere on the regional scene, man. You fought in for WCC, for, CFFC, Art of War, Shogun, all these different places, like and now you're with BKFC. That, I mean, that's a pretty interesting journey to say the least. What do you think is so unique and so different about what Dave and BKFC is doing compared to what we've seen with your typical MMA promotions? Why is there this big disparity? Like, if you're giving your take on it, like, what do you feel is just so different about what BKFC and David Feldman and Conor McGregor and all these guys are doing?
Um, well, I'd say it's two things, right? I'd say one, it's just the team that they've built, uh, like within BKFC, the organization itself, because they wouldn't be able to achieve the things that they're achieving without a really, really solid team. But then the other aspect of that is, I think just naturally, most combat sports fans, right? Other than the jujitsu people, because they're just watching people grapple. But most combat sports fans want to watch knockouts. They want to see somebody get knocked out. And right now, MMA, it has evolved a lot, which is great for the sport of mixed martial arts. But at this current era, it's a very grappling heavy. Um, and you don't have as many of those big knockouts, with the stand-up fighting. There's still knockouts on the ground, but I think that just the average fan that watches combat sports. They just want to see somebody get knocked out. And you're definitely going to see somebody get knocked out in bare knuckle. Small ring, fast pace, and I mean, the bare fist doesn't lie, you know.
Bare fist doesn't lie, and I think you're right. I think when you look at MMA as a whole, I think combat sambo is kind of very very heavily into what's going on here with at least the MMA here in North America,
Mm-hmm.
over the last handful of years, and you're right. You're not really getting those big knockouts, but I also think the other thing is the star power is kind of being spread evenly across everything, whether it
Yeah,
be boxing, MMA, UFC, whatever. And then, bare knuckle. I think a lot of the guys that used to be those guys in MMA are in bare knuckle now.
right.
So I think there's, we talk about it in, other sports, parity in football, parity in basketball. Well, we got parity in combat sports now too, because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's spread around. But, like we were sitting there saying earlier, what Dave, his team are doing is just, I think is you have to stand up and take notice. The growth that they've had since, over the last handful of years is just, they've taken over. We can argue all day long about numbers. Don't mean anything. Numbers mean something to the promoters. I'm talking about what is talked about more, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hands down bare knuckle. UFC is always going to be UFC. It's the it's the premier MMA promotion in the world, and it probably is going to be from that for now until forever, because there's nobody's going to be able to accumulate the popularity and talent that's necessary to get to that level. So, but bare knuckle is just it's going to continue to go up, and for everything that you mentioned, I think the majority of your combat sports fan that they for lack of a better term, they've got that the average fan has bloodlust, so to
Right.
speak. We want to see the knockout, we want to see the cuts, we want to see the blood. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I just think that's just the way that the combat sports consumer wants to see things. They don't want to see wrestling. They don't want to see the grappling back and forth. We've been through 15 20 years of that of what we've seen in the UFC, but there's not really those big star names.
Right.
And, the last handful of them are getting ready to walk out. John Jones
Right.
is getting ready to leave. Conor McGregor basically said that he's going to fight out what's remaining of his contract, and then he's coming to BKFC when that happens. I mean, it's a different age, so it's something that hopefully the UFC can adjust to. But I mean, it's they got a lot to make up for. I mean, granted, they just did a big move with what they just did with Paramount, but now I'm hearing like good portion of the color commentary guys and the announcer guys aren't being brought along. Like John Anik is apparently out of a job. Daniel Cormier is apparently out of a job. I'm like, well, who's next?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you figure Paramount spent all that money to get it, so they're trying to cut as many corners that they can at the moment, at least to kind of offset that. I mean, obviously I think we're two more weeks away before their big first event, so we'll see what happens. But pay per view is dead.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, at least in the MMA world. So we'll see what happens over this year, if the marriage between the UFC and Paramount is something that lasts, or is it something that'll eventually, at least for Paramount, as turns into a bad investment. We don't know how that'll play out. We'll see.
Yeah.
But one thing I always ask all of our guests before we get ready to end things is, we hear the phrase GOAT all the time in sports. This person's the GOAT, this person's the GOAT. And I think combat sports is really the hardest one to kind of really say that to. It's because you have different eras, you have so many different weight classes, you have men, you have women, boxing, there's MMA, there's bare knuckle, right? So I'm going to ask the hardest question to ask somebody in combat sports. So if you're, and I think the fairest way to do it is the route the Mount Rushmore way. So if you could make your own Mount Rushmore of combat sports stars from any era, from any sport, whatever, who is going to be Elijah Harris's 4 picks that this is what defines what combat sports is.
I'd say number one has to be Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
he does not get enough
Doesn't get the
credit.
love.
Yeah, because of his size, which is very unfortunate. He's one of the most skilled practitioners on the planet, and he's proven that by, going into other disciplines and dominating in them as well, after his MMA career.
People don't even talk about how dominant he was in one when he went over there.
Right, exactly. So he just doesn't get the credit, but I think he's definitely probably one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. John Jones, whether you like him or hate him, just because of, everything he's done.
His murderer's row list
Yeah.
of light heavyweights that he destroyed on his way
Right.
to greatness is just legendary.
Yeah.
It's legendary.
Yeah. So he can't be overlooked. Obviously, he's there. Fedor Emelianenko, because he was an animal for his time,
Last one.
And I always liked Chuck Liddell growing up. He was one of my favorites
He's
to
a
watch.
pioneer, and like he may not have the longevity but like he was a big name before the UFC blew up.
Right.
So like,
yeah, and back then those guys were beating the hell out of each other for next to no money.
I was watching a podcast he was doing with Herb Dean, right? And apparently Chuck Liddell had refereed a grappling match that Herb Dean was competing in. So I mean, that's how you talk about how crazy and intertwined the world is. Like Chuck was, light heavyweight champion for a good bit. He was the face of the UFC as it was hitting the mainstream media the way it needed to. So I mean, absolutely got nothing but love for Chuck. I mean, like we all have differences when it comes to it. The only person I might switch out on your list is take out Fedor and add in Anderson Silva.
Yeah, I thought about him as well, and he looks super impressive in his last fight.
Years old, man. Like,
I mean,
crap. He's about to be a cop.
Yeah, good for him.
Can you imagine that being somebody you trying to run from, from Anderson Silva and like, oh, you going to square up with this cop? Nope, no, you're not.
Bad idea. Yeah.
Well, now that puts me right into this other question, right? Because we were just talking about the greatness of John Jones, right? If in their prime we were able to see John Jones, Anderson Silva, how do you think that fight plays
out? It's tough. But I would have to say John Jones because of the fact. I'm not saying Anderson can't wrestle, but I don't think he can wrestle as well as.
What happens when the top level wrestler gets in there with him.
Right.
Right.
And John Jones
ragdolled DC.
He proved that he can adapt and beat anyone at what they're best at. And he literally said that's what his goal is when he gets in there is I want to beat you at whatever you're best at, And he's done that time and time again. So I would have to say probably Jones, even though I'm more of a fan of Anderson Silva.
I totally agree with you. If I had to pick anyone from that era, it's, as I said, I was just going to swap out Fedor for Anderson. I just think that he got like so to the point where I think he was overly confident and cocky with what his skill set was, and he was just getting bored in there. And then ultimately caught up to hurt him with what happened with the Chris Weidman fights.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where, like, I agree with you though. I think, we've seen it. We've seen John go through everybody. Rashad Evans, going somebody that was in his camp that known him intimately. Beat him. Quentin Rampage Jackson. We've seen it all, man. So like. And then beating Shogun, beating Lyoto Machida, submitting Lyoto Machida. Like, I mean, he's just done it in every other way. Obviously the Chael Sonnen fight, he's lucky that he got out of there because he broke his toe as he was trying to post up and finish Chael. I mean, if that round ended and we had a crown Chael Sonnen as we would have never heard the end of it. But I mean, it's a great it's hard to do the GOAT list for combat sports. That's why I like to do the Mount Rushmore, because it gives us more options, more way to go, and we all have different ways that we look at guys or girls that kind of touch us in different ways, inspire us and stuff like that. So
Yeah, the only thing I really liked about Fedor was how much he was feared by everybody else.
He would psych people out before they'd even get in there, and then he would fight
I like
these ridiculous.
Mirko Krokop too, because same thing. He was a stone cold killer.
Till he met Gabriel Gonzaga.
Yeah. But I mean, that guy is literally a stone cold killer though. He was a special forces guy.
Yeah, that's
Croatian special forces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an intimidating dude.
I want to see that dude on a battlefield.
Yeah.
Regardless of the gun, man, you just got on the straight hand-to-hand combat. He kick you in the head. Next thing you know, you're you're looking up the sky. Next thing you know, you're seeing Jesus.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a weird time. Weird time in combat sports. We're going from the pay-per-view age to the streaming age, and everything's changing on so many different levels. So I think it's probably the best time ever to kind of be a combat sports athlete. You guys have so many different choices, and it's not always, and it's not necessarily about like how many, how this goes. Like, not about how many tickets you sell, but just how you perform when you're in there.
I mean, both matter for sure.
Yeah,
both
I mean,
matter.
Obviously both do matter.
Yeah.
We're not
at the end of the day, what you do in there matters more than, like I don't sell a whole lot of tickets right now, but I know damn well here before too much longer, I'm going to be selling out entire arenas.
Hey, listen, if your first two fights in BKFC was any indicator of what's going to happen in your career, like, listen, styles make fights. I'm sure that when it's right, you're going to want to get that L back.
Oh yeah, I already talked to Lentz management and let him know he's out with a shattered hand for quite a while, and if he wants to have another fight before, that's fine, because I'm not stopping and waiting, but we're running that back. And in my mind, I'm still undefeated. I had him bust up, beat up. Yeah, he had some knockdowns, but I wasn't hurt. And what had happened was I took a shot early on and couldn't see out of my left eye. So I was getting tagged with shots that I just didn't see coming. So I was like, all right, I'm going to reset quick and, go back at it, because I knew how badly he was leaking. So in my mind, it was like, just get out of the round, get the vision back in my eye, and we'll put him away in 2. And then someone from the commission said that they thought I may have vomited, even though there was no vomit anywhere on the ground. And then the fight was stopped. So that's what happened.
Athletic commissions, I really do. Listen, can we get like some people in there that actually know the sport, not these people that just go online, fill out applications, and that's how. Like, we need to get people that are involved. I'm not sitting there saying like from your your gym and stuff sometimes fans are more knowledgeable than what, like, doctors and yes, you need to be qualified professionals, but these commission members that are just, for lack of a better term, like, pencil pushing nerds that just doesn't understand what goes in there. Like, I'm not stopping a fight just because you threw up. I'm not doing it. Even I, like you said, I didn't fucking throw. Oh man, that'd be one of those moments, because like I'd lose it. You're stealing something from me because you thought something happened.
Yeah, oh, believe me, man, I was heated. I just always try to remain professional. There was a time like 5-6 years ago, I wouldn't have handled the situation as well.
Man, it'd have been all over the news.
We're learning with age.
You lost your license for a period of time because you just strangled some commission member.
Yeah, we're learning with age.
That's the only thing we can do is learn how to control it, channel it, and deal with it in the proper way. Anytime when we're younger, it's we're gonna deal with the immediate emotional reaction to it, and we have to learn, especially as you're getting older and being more professional, to deal with that in certain ways. So, I mean, I'm glad you did it, but I'd like to see you and Lance run that back. Hopefully, however long that takes for him is however long it takes for him.
Right,
But
exactly. I'm not going anywhere, so whenever he's ready.
yeah, you heard it here, folks. He wants Lentz back when his medical clearance is cleared. I'm sure that you'll be calling Shook and Feldman, be like, where's that contract? Because we got some unfinished business to handle.
He's a tough, durable guy. I
Yeah,
can see him honestly shaking up the lightweight division, and I like depending on how many more fights he wants to have. But I can see him making some noise in the lightweight division, and there could be a time later on where it does make sense for us to run that back. Like if we're talking title contention for the lightweight strap.
Now, one last thing before we wrap this one up. Obviously you want to go after the title, but there's a big tournament coming up for BKFC.
There is. And it has me thinking about going up a couple weight classes. So,
so that's what I was going to ask you,
so,
because
so
that's a
between
lot of
us, right?
that's a lot of stacks, brother.
That's a lot of money, right? So it's 185 to like 265, 275 or something like that. Okay. A little less than 2 months ago, I was walking at 178. So it's not that hard for me to get myself to 185.
You could just
You know?
add a few extra cheat meals into the week,
Yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, regardless, title belt, baddest man on the planet tournament. I'm, you're fighting next weekend. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you getting back in there, getting back to your winning ways. No disrespect to your opponent or all that. I'm always going to support my local combat sports fighters a little bit more. So, appreciate your time today. What I typically do here at the end of these interviews is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over to you. Anyone you would like to thank, training partners, teammates, shoot out your social media sites, give love to your gym, sponsors. Any last words you want to leave upon our listeners, the people today? The time is yours, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Just shout out to Tactical Combat Academy, and Coach Josh Hummer, all my teammates there, Caleb, Ray, Ben, Isaiah. You guys have definitely been helping me stay sharp and always ready. I don't know if you can really call this a camp, but I'm just always ready, and that's attributed to those guys. A shout out to my longtime sponsor, Jason Bosco at Bosco Family Chiropractic. He's the one that keeps me aligned and able to keep doing this stuff as frequently as I do. And uh, yeah, that's about it. I'm excited for the fight, and all glory to God.
Hopefully we get a few more sponsors on your shorts, on your shirts, whatever. Reach out to my friend Rain Wells, man. He does work with that Fight Wax company. They're looking for more people to kind of get on their brand. Let them know I sent you. I'm trying to, I'm actually getting ready to try to see if I can get them to sponsor me on here. But
Yeah.
Always like sharing information with you guys. See if I can get some of these good companies connected with some of these good athletes, especially guys like you who deserve the extra support, my friend. So
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
not a problem, my friend. Other than that, appreciate the time. Best of skill for you on the fight on the 17th. Safe travels and all that, and hopefully you get everything accomplished in 2026 that you want to. We definitely got to have you back on here sometime again in the future. Other than that, Elijah, appreciate your time today. Enjoy your afternoon. Go Birds.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. You too. I look forward to the next one.
Definitely. You have a good one, my friend.
You too. God bless.
All right, everyone. That was Mr. Elijah, the Buffalo Soldier Harris. Another great combat sports veteran, another BKFC athlete. Wish him the best on his upcoming fight. That is the 17th in Connecticut. So, guys, make sure you got locked into the app there, whether it be the BKFC app, the Zone app. I know they're getting ready to switch over to Yes as well. So make sure you're showing Elijah some love and appreciate everyone for tuning in today. I know everyone in the tri-state area is going to be paying attention to the Eagles game here within the next half hour or so. So appreciate everyone who hopped in with us. You know, guys, make sure you're showing Elijah love, and you know, make sure you're hitting that QR code if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, and head over to South Florida Tribune, and actually that one's the website. This is the YouTube channel. So guys, make sure you're locked in for everything we're doing. We got a bunch of fun more interviews coming over the next week on top of our regular programming. We're going to be talking to Phillies pitcher Tommy Green. Major League Baseball veteran, should be joining us Wednesday evening at 9:00. So, and also going to be joined by another BKFC fighter later on in the week. We're going to, as we get closer to Knucklemania, going to try to get a few more of these fighters in there. And so other than that, appreciate everyone's time today, and we will see you Monday for the J&S Philly Sports Stop. Catch you later, my friends. Peace out.